A song by my grandfather called The Rusty Gold Sailing Away. About a man who left his family and friends to go out on the sea to chase the right whaler. Well, years went by. We never saw him again. He left a poor wife, Sarah, and a young lad, Timmy.
I wish that I had never been born.
My grandpa used to tell stories of the old sea. And the waves would sing.
Aye.
And the gulls would be afraid to fly into the wind.
Aye.
And the women on shore, aye.
Aye.
Oh,
I remember.
We sang up a storm in that pub.
I remember the lass over in Singapore, going through the Horn. Went down the Horn to Singapore, ran into this lass. She was a fine lassie. Her name was Katrina. Katrina and I. We sang and danced all night. And she took me back to her small abode. And then, it was then when I discovered I was a man. It's Willie the dock worker. How you doing, you old sot? Good to see you. I got some drambuie for you, Willie. How's she been faring these days, Willie? Right, see you later, Willie. Good seeing you, old boy.
There's nothing like the old darkness. I remember coming in, gale force winds, full under sail.
Aye.
Old Captain Biff, he wasn't afraid to put up the sails in the gale wind. He wasn't afraid.
I don't ripped it.
We came in and old Willie was standing there.
I don't.
With a rope. And he said, tie her up, boys.
It clinged to his teeth.
And we did tie her up.
Aye.
And we went and got drunk.
Aye.
Aye.
I remember a time, round in the corn, round in the horn, with Slippery Ned. We were told, the crew was told not to look back, because the waves were storming over 70 feet across our aft.
Aye, those were the days, weren't they, Ned?
They'd say, you look back, you go insane. So we didn't look back. Old little Billy, the 15-year-old lad, he looked back and he died. Here's to Billy.
God rest his mighty soul.
God rest it.
And now what about the St. Elmo's fire?
I remember many a time when the mast grew up like Satan's daughter. It was enough to make you sad, weeping for that time you were at home in front of your fire with your lady.
I never had a lady. I sure I had the women from port to port,
Well,
like we all did.
At least they had Bobby.
I had Bobby. He was the greatest shipmate a man could ever ask for. He was small and tight, and his muscles were round in the summer sun. I remember Bobby.
I remember Bobby when he first knew. I had to tell him what it was for. He was shocked. Old Bobby jumped off the pier, gobbled up whole by a great white, 20 feet in length.
That's a small white. I seen a white that would scare the white out of your eye.
Aye.
I rode on the back of one.
Aye.
I stabbed my fist into its hole, and I pulled out its heart and put it in its eyes. You bastard! This is what you are. And it looked at me, and it
I remember whaling off the port of Becall. I took my spear, heading off on a whaleboat, and I seen her, the whitest whale, looked like Moby Dick. I labeled one, I threw it, and I nailed her right above the blowhole. And she spurted blood out, and she rolled over at me and looked at me like, I'm gonna come back and bite your neck off. And I said, you I will chase for the rest of my life. She took down the oarboat. All was lost on my boat except for me. If it weren't for that tail whipping me back and throwing me into the mainsail of the clipper, I'd be a dead man.
And what about the old spears? A mite bit sharp they used to be. I used to pound them on the throne myself.
I remember.
I'd never trust a blacksmith in all his days.
Oh,
I'd have to do it myself, because he wouldn't get it right.
Aye.
Time after time after time.
Aye.
I'd make them so sharp, they'd pierce that skin as if it were butter.
I remember the times you cut your hands so many times on the nets. They would bleed wide open, you'd have sores on top of sores.
But you'd taste the blood, and it would be the blood of a sailor man. And it would be the man's blood. You wouldn't taste that blood on a landlubber's blood.
Hi, Michael. I'll be your waiter this evening. Would you like an appetizer or something to start out with, or are you two okay with your drink?
How about an onion loaf?
I'll take shrimp cocktail.
A drink, any wine, aperitif, something like that?
I'll take whale lard.
What do they call that pink?
Large or small whale lard, please.
Blue Hawaii.
Large.
Blue Hawaii. Remember we saw Don Ho and drank those till we were blue in the face.
And I'd like some maritime sailing flags to go inside that whale lard.
Let's be right up, and just let me know if you need anything else. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
I tell you, men these days,
You don't know if they're men or what they are.
I don't know where they come from. Let's toast to the old men. The men
Men who you knew were men on top of men.
of Sailing Hollow.
You remember this old one? Let's sing it.